You're welcome along to Trader Chat. It's the last day of November. Christmas is closing in, and Flynn Goward, the fact that you have a Christmas tree is just slightly more acceptable, which I have to say it does look well.
It does look fantastic, although I've seen other trees going up all over social media this week, and I could say that ours doesn't look as good as theirs, but we'll take it anyway.
Yeah, in terms of Christmas presents, is your bank a little bit bigger? Is the Star Sports Bank a little bit bigger after the week? The football results had to be favourable. What about the racing? How was the week in general? There was a lot going on.
Yeah, so let's talk football first. So it was a great week for us in terms of match results with football. When you look at the results, I mean, it's pretty easy to tell why. Liverpool drawing was a great result for us. Obviously, the late Brighton penalty there, VAR coming to the rescue for us. We laid a lot of Liverpool 8-13 and 4-7 before the game. There was touches of 4-6 around as well, which I thought was a bit mad before the game. Obviously, it turned out not to be. City were too short for punters to get involved, so even though they won 5-0, they were 1-8 before the match, so just way too short for punters to even think about going in there. And then Chelsea and Spurs being a goalless draw again was a great result on the match.
Who did you lay in that actually? Because I thought Chelsea were short. Because I'm of the opinion that home advantage doesn't really matter. I think they're probably a bit better than Spurs, but obviously you got an ideal result. Were Chelsea popular?
They weren't actually. Spurs were the ones that the punters wanted to go after. We saw that last week when they played City as well. We saw a lot of people come in for Spurs there, and we saw the same this week. 11-4 was Spurs. So a lot of money for Spurs. We couldn't really lay Chelsea, but again, we're not complaining about the draw. And in terms of what that's done for the outright market, Liverpool is 7-4 from 13-8, so easing the market obviously after drawing at the weekend. City have shortened up. They were 5-2, now they're 2-1. Spurs and Chelsea are picking between the two. They are 11-2. And Man United are 25-1. I just want to talk about our liabilities in the outright market. We're not really spoken about that. We speak about the prices moving every week, but in terms of what our position looks like, our main bogeys in the market are Chelsea. We've got Chelsea to lose a fair chunk. We laid out before the league started, obviously at much bigger prices than 11-2. And then this weekend we laid United at 40-1. They're obviously now 25. So a lot of people coming for United. I think they got a little bit lucky. I don't think they're too good, to be honest with you. If Bruno Fernandes got injured, I'd be really worried about United going forward. Every single thing they do seems to stem from him, although he is fantastic. So a couple of liabilities to keep an eye on there in terms of how this Premier League progresses. And one other market I wanted to talk about in terms of football was the first manager to leave. So we saw money from Mikel Arteta, obviously Arsenal, my team. I think that we're hugely disappointing at the moment. He's now 10-1. He was 40-1. There is some bigger prices out there, but we've ducked.
What's going wrong actually, Flynn? There, because everything was so positive only like a month ago or so.
You know, I was speaking to my friends last night. I've literally got no idea. I mean, we seem to be ticking along really well. Even when we played your mob Liverpool at the start of the season, it was looking all positive, even though we got beat. So I'm not really too sure what's going on, but he's certainly not gone firing, and Aubameyang seems to have gone completely distant. So not sure what's happening with Arsenal, but Mikel Arteta short and right up. Although Chris Wilder still heads that market at 13-8. Obviously Sheffield United still only on one lonely point. So interesting to see what happens there with the first manager to go market.
Obviously, the Star Sports Build-A-Bet option is quite popular. I got to give a little mention to a mate of mine who texted me yesterday and he said, Messi to score and get booked is a 7-1 shot. Now, if he scores, he's definitely going to unveil some sort of a dedication to Maradona. Sure enough, he scores. And then the debate is, will the referee have the gumption to book him because it's such a beautiful thing? But he has to in the letter of the rules. So 7-1 came in. Now, it wasn't with Star Sports, but that is the ingenuity that some punters will look for.
It's a good shout.
Ingenuity in terms of backing or laying Epatont at the weekend. She was weak in the market, then she was backed, and then she absolutely bolted up. And obviously then we had the Grade 1 winners at Fairyhouse yesterday, which pretty much all went to script.
Yeah, fantastic weekend of racing. Firstly, to start at Newcastle, so you just mentioned Epatont. That was the worst result of the weekend for us. Really, really tough. We laid it for chunks at 5-6 and went off 8-11. When you just mentioned the price, it was all over the place. It was moving out, it was coming in. On the nights before the race, that price was really going out, and there was a little bit of a worry there as to why is this even happening, because you were so miles clear on the figures.
Yeah, have you found any difference since lockdown in terms of the show betting versus the early betting? Is the show becoming a more vibrant market now? Because obviously the stats are showing that if you're backing long shots on the show, you're certainly better off than you were, say, with the old system.
We're not seeing too much different. I mean, a lot of punters bet in the way that they like to bet. So if they like to bet on the show, if they like to bet early, obviously people want to take early price to try and beat the price. But to be honest, I'm not seeing a huge amount of difference in the way that punters are playing. But punters certainly got involved with Epatton here on the show and early anyway with us. She's now 6-4 for the champion hurdle. So
6-4.
6-4. She's short.
Wow.
Me and you had a conversation last week when we spoke about Epatton and the champion hurdle, and you really didn't fancy her and thought that the one would come and get her. But I really like her for the race. I wouldn't be paying at 6-4. I think it's miles too short.
What price is Concertista as a matter of interest?
I'll find out for you.
Yeah, because so she obviously she won the novice race last year for mares, and produced actually a brilliant performance. She was quite weak in the betting on Saturday, but I think she went off 6-4. But she ends up bolting up, and to me, she looks a player now. I think if she has that progressive profile.
Yeah, I've got her in at 20 for the champion hurdle Concertista. She's obviously a lot short for the mares races. She was fairly weak in the market, I thought, the weekend. But then obviously she went and won really impressively. So that's what we're looking at for the champion hurdle. The other race in Newcastle that's worth talking about is the Rehearsal Chase. I've seen York Hill coming out. And if you watch the race, I mean, I don't think the front two horses wanted to win at all. I mean, Watmore really didn't want to win, and York Hill I think only won because the loose horse was going with him. Two real soft finishes there, but great to see him back. And York Hill was a great result for us, obviously going off about 40-1 and even bigger on the machine as well.
What happened at Newbury then?
Yeah, so Clothcat was a horrific result for us in the Ladbrokes Trophy. Unfortunately, we laid a lot of 9-1. He really shortened up. He was strong in the market, and obviously the money knew. He's 25-1 for the National next April. Be interesting to see how he goes there. The conditional was the other worst result in the book for us, and that finished second. So it was a really poor race for us. The other results were positive, and we saw the Next Destination win the 2 mile 7 novice chase. He's now 12-1 for the RSA. I thought he was pretty impressive actually, but that race looks really hot now, doesn't it? When you're looking at the RSA with Monkfish coming out and doing the business, he's now 7-2 for the RSA. I thought he was really class. I'm not sure he's quite worthy of being 7-2, but he looks like he's the one that they've all got beat.
Well, the big getaway, the big breakaway. Imagine if they all took each other on, and there's every chance they actually might as well.
Yeah, I mean, look at the novice chasers this year compared to last year. When you look at it, put the kettle on winning last year, compare that to the Arkle with Shishkin this year, and then look at the RSA compared to last year. It just looks a fantastic race this year compared to the years gone by anyway. So Next Destination is 12-1 for the RSA, and Monkfish is 7-2. Just to touch on the Friday at Newbury as well, because we saw Time Hill come out and win the long distance hurdle. That Albert Bartlett form is really solid now. When you look at the horses that have come place in that race, Fury Rose come out and he's been impressive, albeit in kind of Mickey Mouse novice hurdle so far, but he will step up. And obviously the other horse, Monkfish, coming out and running a really good race over fences. Time Hill's now 5-1 for the Stays hurdle, but he's second favourite because Paisley Park obviously finishing second, so really encouraging run from him. He's 9-2 for the Stays hurdle. McFabulous was the big bogey in the race. We really didn't want him to win, but he didn't seem to stay the trip at all. And I'm not sure really where he's going to go now. One more race to talk about on Friday would be the 2 mile 4 novice hurdle. Bravesman's Game won that, and he looks to go to the Challow hurdle next, where I would imagine he'll be favourite. He was pretty impressive, so one to keep an eye on there. And then talk about Fairy House on Sunday. I mean, we had top class horse after top class horse come out. They all seemed to go the way of the punters, although we didn't seem to get stung too badly because they were such short prices that some punters just didn't want to be playing. Ballyadam first, we laid it all the way from 4-6 down to 8-15. Now 6-1 for the Supreme from 13-2. Thought it was pretty impressive, but I'm not sure what it really proved there to us that we didn't already know. I know it stepped up in trip and it's won, and now it's won the Royal Bond, and it's a great trial for the race, but I wouldn't want to be piling in the short prices particularly. I don't know what you think about Ballyadam, Johnny.
Yeah, I like him, but he hasn't actually achieved enough to merit, being a good thing yet. And you'd imagine Willie Mullins might have something in the locker to come out, or some of those bumper horses from last season maybe we haven't seen. I think he's very good. I think he'll jump better in a stronger run race, but he beat horses sort of rated the 130s yesterday by a length and a half. So yeah, he probably deserves to be 6-7-1 favourite. Yeah,
it's completely fair enough, I think. And also, when you think about Ballyadam, you've got to think about Fernie Hollow and where are they both going to go, who's going to go Ballymore, who's going to go Supreme. So I wouldn't want to be tempted in with the short price just yet. Boy Len obviously looks like the best jump horse in training, was pretty thrilling to watch. He was too short for punters to get involved in at 8 on and 7 on at the weekend. He's 6-4 from 2-1 for the Marsh. So we've seen some real horses shorten up anti-post for Cheltenham now after the weekend. They're obviously coming out and winning these races really impressively, and they're going much shorter. Of the 3 big hot pots on Sunday, it was probably Honeysuckle that was the worst result for us. Laid lots of 4-9 and 2-5. It's now a solid favourite for the mares at 3-1. Could go Champion Hurdle, obviously much bigger prices for that, but we'll have to wait and see. And then one more horse just to talk about on Sunday from Fairy House was Zanna here. New favourite for the Triumph Hurdle at 8-1. Thought it was really, really impressive actually, this horse. St Sam was the one that really shortened up in the race, went off 8-11 I believe, but shortened all the way up from odds against. But Zanna here was the one that went and got the business done. I think it SP'd at 16-5 on Sunday. So there's just a few to take out of the weekend, racing-wise going forward, Johnny.
Yeah, you've packed a lot in there. We also have a little bit of boxing, golf, and cricket to talk about briefly.
Yeah, we do indeed. So just very briefly, we saw Joe Joyce fight Daniel Dubois, obviously the Frank Warren run show at the weekend. Joe Joyce was 3-1 pre-fight, obviously a lot older than Daniel Dubois, but he stopped him in round 10. Dubois getting a nasty cut to his left eye, really swelled and couldn't see out of it at all, and Joyce just catching him, and he kind of quit, but I don't think you can blame him for it. We laid quite a lot of Joe Joyce before the event, so obviously a lot of shrewd boxing punters were thinking that the more experienced older Joe Joyce was going to get the better of Dubois, and he duly did. Joyce called out Usyk after the fight, so it'll be interesting to see where they go going forward in terms of that fight. Touching on the golf, we had the Alfred Dunhill the weekend, and Christian Bezuidenhout was the winner there. He was 16-1, so he was fairly short in the market. He was a small loser pre-tournament, but the biggest loser was Brandon Stone, who was tipped up across the boards by a lot of golf judges. So we were happy to see him beat. And in running, we laid Adrian Moronk heavily, so we were really happy to see him finish second on the Sunday. If anybody watched the golf, there was a lot of players just trying to throw it away, and it was Christian Bezuidenhout in his home country that just came through and was steady and won. Just really briefly touching on the cricket, England won both their 2020s against South Africa. That was really poor results for us. A lot of people getting behind, obviously, our home nation over here. And there's one more game tomorrow, South Africa versus England again. South Africa at 6-4 and England at 2s on. So England short and right up. They were bigger than that obviously before they won these 2 games. So all in all, we had a really good week on the football, tough on the racing, and pretty tough elsewhere, to be honest. So we'll be looking forward to kicking on this week, Johnny.
And will you kick on this week?
Hopefully. I mean, this week we've got the North London derby, obviously Spurs versus Arsenal. Spurs are 20-21, so odds on to beat Arsenal. I hate seeing that, being an Arsenal fan, although I think we are pretty poor at the moment, so I would imagine Spurs will do a job. Arsenal are 11-4 and the draw's 13-5 there if you did want to have a look at any markets on the site or the app. Racing wise, well, we've obviously got fantastic weekends racing this weekend. It's Sandown, it's the Tingle Creek. We've obviously got Altior running. We've laid a lot of Altior at 6-4, so he'd be a big loser going into the weekend for us already. We've laid a real good sum at 6-4 last week. So we'll obviously wait for declarations to come through, and then we'll see who goes there. And then at Aintree, we've got the Beach Chase. We've got Walking the Mill comes out again after winning the race last year. He would be our biggest loser in the book. He's 7-1 joint favourite with Kimberlite Candy. And then we've got Punchestown on Sunday. We've got 3 golf tournaments this week. Plethora of sport to get involved in. So it should be a good week, Johnny. You
packed a lot in there, Flynn. Thanks a million and have a good week.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Yeah, that was Trader Chat, and we'll be back with you next week.